Well, that was certainly a very interesting Belgian Grand Prix, and it was very, very different to what I personally expected. But Kimi Antonelli is the victor once again, with Charles Leclerc in second and Max Verstappen in third.
Green will be the next question.
Yes, Kimi Antonelli wins the 2026 Belgian Grand Prix ahead of Charles Leclerc, and right behind them was Max Verstappen. Yes, the Dutch Lion is back on the podium once more. Did you know that you can get 10% off all W products, including this lovely pink blossom cap or this lovely green and lime shaker bottle? And if that's not your jam, and if you want the actual products, you can get some of these. But as you can see, there's a whole array of flavours and a whole array of different products you can get. But yeah, if you want any of the coffee extract, there's a big variety here. But if you want this, they even do hoodies as well and flags. So you can get all that sort of stuff, and with 10% off with my code Motorsports95. But yes, it is a very, very diverse range and is all pretty good stuff, so I would definitely recommend it. With Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri behind the Ferrari man of Lewis Hamilton, with Isaac Hadjar sandwiched in between. But it was a very, very interesting race, and it all came up to a point at Le Mans on the first lap, with Lewis Hamilton and George Russell colliding. And yeah, it was a classic case of Lewis getting dirtier, and he just slid into Russell, hit him round, and then Russell got beat, and that was it. Lewis would get a 5-second penalty. I'm not too much of a fan of this myself, and it's like what I said to Frankie Likes Racing earlier. I just said it was looking like a decent day for Lewis until it wasn't, because it was looking like a decent day for Lewis until it wasn't. But after that, it was a decent sort of management by Kimi. He was edging out a few seconds sort of thing until the pit stop phase. But ultimately, Max Verstappen, who was running in second at the time, he would pit first, trying to trigger an undercut. It wouldn't really work, because as it all came out for Antonelli, he would go out a few seconds further behind. So that made it was Leclerc Hamilton 1-2, with Hamilton still needing to serve the penalty. But there would be a lucky virtual safety car. Now, this would happen a few times before for debris at Blanchimont. I think was the official line of the code there, but they decided to do a double stacked Ferrari on the third one, I think it was, and well, they got lucky. They done a really good double stop for Leclerc, and it was a good stop for Hamilton, but Hamilton unfortunately ran over one of his mechanics, which we think is all okay, luckily. And yeah, he served his 5-second penalty, but because of all the stoppages, he's dropped down. And yeah, it wasn't enough to get beaten by the McLarens in the end, even though he had to overtake Oscar Piastri on track. But he had to overtake him. It was a very, very good move. And yeah, he's still being checked for a 5-second penalty, another one, because of that incident in the pit lane. But yeah, from what I know now, he finished ahead of Oscar. And I can certainly say it was a very, very good drive from Isaac Hadjar, all the way from like 21st place to 6th. You know, that was nothing to be sniffed at, so well done, Isaac. But I've got to say, it was a very, very decent race considering what I was expecting. I would put this in the same sort of marker as Silverstone, where I was worrying a bit about what was going to happen in the long run because of the battery management, and people won't just be like an F2 race because of the no batteries and no real charging stations, if you want to call it that. Use it like a word of Fernando Alonso used for Suzuka. But it didn't seem that bad, at least in my opinion, and you know, it shows real good potential with these cars because they're obviously more raceable than the old cars, that's for sure. And yeah, I enjoyed it really very much. But Aston Martin, they're just shocking. I mean, we got to lap 18 and Fernando Alonso was literally 71 seconds behind Kimi Antonelli, the race leader. And that's bearing in mind we had a safety car right at the start, so that was probably be around 15 laps of actual race running. The safety car did come out for George Russell, obviously. But yeah, honestly, Cadillac is still struggling a bit with Sergio Perez retiring too. Yeah, Lance Stroll retired a bit later on in the day as well then. But I probably would retire from a race if I had to drive that car, so I don't blame him one bit for that one. I've criticised Lance Stroll in the past, but I can't criticise Lance Stroll for that one. I'd want to drive. I don't want to retire every race, to be honest. Wouldn't want to drive that car at all. But I thought it was a really good race, like I said. And we look on to the race in Budapest next weekend. Again, interesting with the championship, obviously with Antonelli winning and Russell DNFing. Antonelli was 25 points ahead of Russell. Now he is 50. So that is 2 race wins. But Lewis Hamilton, he is 47 points behind Kimi Antonelli. So he is in second once again. Now this obviously shakes it up a bit more. So that means that Mercedes have to think a bit more about Ferrari. But the way that it's going, it really does seem like Kimi has it under lock and key. However, we all said this about Oscar last year. This is a point I'm making. We all said it about Oscar last year. I said it about Oscar last year. And he blew it. I started PTSD of that because of my bet with my workmates about that. Where I was thinking, yeah, he's surely going to win it. But he didn't. And he was something like 35 points up, I think, at the peak of it after Zandvoort on Lando. Over Max, that was like 104. He still finished behind in the standing. So there you go. That shows that anything can happen. And this is the first. This is what people forget. This is the first year of a new reg cycle. So obviously things are going to go, and it's going to be extreme development as well. As my cheers got down for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah. This chair. What the hell? Anyway, sorry about that. To be unprofessional for a second. But yeah, it's going to be so fluid. It's such a fluid situation, so it's not going to be like they're the best team and that's it, like last year with McLaren, and it was such a surprise that Red Bull even got there. So it's nothing like that at all. And let's be realistic with this, right? The only reason why Red Bull and Verstappen could do what they could do is because they're Red Bull and Verstappen, because they're a one-car team, and they knew that everyone was putting their eggs into the basket. Hell, even McLaren were putting some of their eggs into the basket for this year, way before Red Bull were. But the only reason why Verstappen and Red Bull got close last year is because they got the best driver on the Formula 1 grid, and they weren't really bothered about this year until after it finished. I don't know that for a fact, but you can definitely tell because of the way they started this year, and just because of everything in between as well, because of how much they pushed into last year. Well, they had pretty much the best car for the last races or so, but yeah, that just shows it. And Red Bull, they're making more benefits coming into this year now as well, with Verstappen getting another podium and changing the Macarena wing. They've not got one anymore because it don't work for them. And if Max can keep taking his podiums, that's good for them in the constructors' fight too, because there's still a fight in there. Even if it isn't for overall victory, they can still fight for prize money, which is so important for the teams. But yes, as I previously mentioned, Formula 1 is back next weekend. The Hungarian Grand Prix, the Monaco without the walls, basically, is what it's known as. So it's going to be very, very interesting. Ferrari's Lewis Hamilton has won a crazy amount of races around there. Can he get another one? That would be very, very fascinating. But it has been an all-papaya show in recent years, with Oscar Piastri's debut win and Lando Norris winning last year. So that'll be very, very fascinating. And there was always something going on at Budapest and the Hungaroring. But Spa, you've delivered a decent race this year, and I did enjoy that a bit more than what I expected. So good on you, mate. Good on you. But yes, Formula 1, I certainly enjoyed that. But the question is, did you? Now, I would like to know, did you actually enjoy me doing some of these? I noticed the one on YouTube. For if you watch on Instagram, there's a link in the bio for my Instagram, for my YouTube rather. That got an insane number of views, so thank you so much for the support. And I would really enjoy this one to get the same sort of attention and stuff. And it's a bit of a different idea. So if you really enjoyed doing this, I can sort of do this as a series for when I get time to do this kind of thing. But yes, that is really appreciated from my side, so thank you so much. And if you like what I see, if you like what you see, I will continue doing this going forwards. But yes, like I say, Formula 1 is done in Spa for 2026, but Kimi Antonelli has certainly got the advantage in the championship game. However, there is a lot more rest to play for, and you never know what is around the corner, apart from in the Formula 1 world, where we know that we're going to Budapest next week, and then we have the summer shutdown. But Kimi Antonelli is the king of Spa for 2026, and did you enjoy that showing for the sport?